The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly around the Catherian command flagship Eternal Dominance. Admiral Terrace stood before the massive viewing screen, his forearms crossed behind his back as he studied the approaching human fleet. His scaled emerald skin caught the light from the bridge's control panels, and his three golden eyes blinked in what could only be described as amusement. "Is this some kind of joke?" Admiral Terrace asked, his voice a deep rumble that echoed through the bridge. His officers turned to look at the screen, and several began to chuckle softly. General Vex, Terrace's second-in-command, stepped forward. His red-tinted scales gleamed as he gestured toward the display. "Admiral, our scouts confirm these are indeed the legendary human warships we've heard so much about." The bridge erupted in laughter. Even the normally serious navigation officer couldn't suppress a snort of derision. On the screen, dozens of human vessels approached in what appeared to be a standard military formation. But to the Catherians, these ships looked like toys. They were small, boxy, and seemed to be held together with basic metal plating. Compared to the sleek, kilometer-long Catherian vessels, with their flowing organic curves and energy-based hulls, the humans might as well have been flying scrap metal. "These are the ships that supposedly conquered the Rigel sector?" Terrace asked, shaking his massive head. "The vessels that made the Andromedans surrender?" Vex pulled up a tactical analysis on his personal screen. "Intelligence reports suggest these humans have been expanding rapidly across their local cluster. They've defeated several minor species, but Admiral, look at these specifications." The data showed human ships with basic fusion drives, primitive projectile weapons, and hulls made of simple metal alloys. Their largest vessel was barely 300 meters long. "Their technology is at least 500 years behind ours." Vex continued, "Their weapons can't even penetrate our basic shielding. This will be over before it begins." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Defiant Spirit, Captain Jenna Cross stood calmly on her bridge. Her short brown hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her blue eyes remained focused on the tactical display. Unlike the alien's assumption, there was no fear in her expression, only cold calculation. "Captain, the alien fleet is taking position," reported Lieutenant Cole Rivers from the weapons station. His young face showed tension, but his voice remained steady. "They're not even bothering to maintain proper defensive formations." Jenna nodded slowly. "Good. Let them think we're easy prey." The Defiant Spirit was indeed small compared to the alien vessels, but appearances could be deceiving. Every human ship in the fleet had been specially modified for this exact scenario. Hidden beneath their plain exteriors lay technology that would surprise any enemy who underestimated them. Back on the Catherian flagship, Admiral Terrace was growing impatient. "How long do we wait? Are they planning to surrender without a fight?" "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet," announced the communications officer, her voice filled with barely contained laughter. "Put it through," Terrace commanded. Captain Cross's image appeared on the main screen. She looked calm and composed as she spoke. "This is Captain Jenna Cross of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have entered human territory without permission. Please withdraw immediately, or face the consequences." The Catherian bridge fell silent for a moment, before exploding in laughter once again. Terrace wiped tears from his three eyes as he responded. "Little human, do you see our fleet? We have 47 warships, each one capable of destroying your entire force single-handedly. Your threats are amusing, but this sector now belongs to the Catherian Empire. Surrender now, and we might allow some of your people to live as servants." Jenna's expression didn't change. "Final warning, Admiral. Withdraw now." Terrace cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Begin the attack. Target their command ship first. Let's end this quickly." The Catherian fleet moved into attack formation. Their massive ships hummed with power as energy weapons charged. Brilliant blue and purple lights danced along their hulls as the aliens prepared to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority. "Fire!" Taurus commanded. Dozens of energy beams lanced through space toward the human fleet. The concentrated firepower was enough to vaporize a small moon, and the Catherians expected to see the human ships disappear in brilliant explosions. Instead, something unexpected happened. The human ships scattered with incredible speed and precision. They moved like a school of fish avoiding a predator, weaving between the energy beams with impossible grace. Not a single shot found its target. What? General Vex stared at the display in confusion. How are they moving so fast? Admiral Terrace frowned. The human ships were definitely faster than their intelligence reports had suggested, but speed alone wouldn't save them. Spread our formation. Box them in. They can't dodge forever. The Catherian ships began to surround the human fleet, their massive hulls blocking escape routes. But instead of panicking, the humans did something even more surprising. They began to retreat toward a nearby asteroid field. They're running toward the Nexus belt, observed the navigation officer. That's a dead end. Those asteroids are too dense for large ships to navigate safely. Vex nodded approvingly. Perfect. They've trapped themselves. We can pick them off one by one as they try to hide among the rocks. But Admiral Terrace wasn't so sure. Something about the human retreat bothered him. It was too organized, too deliberate. Why would experienced military commanders trap themselves in an asteroid field? Admiral, called the sensor officer. We're detecting some unusual energy readings from the asteroid belt. What kind of readings? Terrace demanded. Unknown, sir. The signatures are faint and scattered throughout the field. Could be mineral deposits, or maybe the humans are trying to mask their engine signatures. Terrace studied the tactical display carefully. The human ships had reached the edge of the asteroid field and were beginning to weave between the floating rocks. His fleet was closing in, ready to finish them off. Sir, should we pursue? Asked Vex. Every instinct told Terrace to be cautious, but the evidence was overwhelming. The humans were clearly outmatched and desperate. Their retreat into the asteroid field was the last act of a defeated enemy. Yes, he decided. Follow them in, but maintain formation and watch for tricks. The Catherian fleet entered the Nexus belt in pursuit of their prey. The massive alien ships had to slow down to navigate between the larger asteroids, but they still had more than enough firepower to deal with the trapped humans. On the Defiant, Spirit Captain Cross watched the alien fleet enter the asteroid field with satisfaction. All ships, this is Cross. Phase 1 complete. The fish have taken the bait. Lieutenant Rivers looked up from his station. Captain, all weapon platforms report ready. Targeting solutions locked. Engineering, what's our status? Cross asked. From the engine room came the voice of Engineer Nina Blake, her slight southern accent clear over the comm. All systems green. Captain, the boys downstairs are ready to show these aliens what human engineering can really do. Cross allowed herself a small smile. Signal all ships. Prepare for Phase 2. In the asteroid field, Admiral Terrace was beginning to feel uneasy. The human ships seemed to know exactly where they were going, navigating the dangerous field with impossible precision. And those energy readings were getting stronger. General, I want a full sensor sweep of this entire field, he ordered. Something isn't right here. Before Vex could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the Catherian fleet. Emergency lights flashed red as panicked voices filled the communication channels. Admiral, massive energy spike detected. Unknown contacts lighting up throughout the field. Sir, we're being targeted by multiple sources. Admiral Terrace stared at the tactical display in growing horror as dozens of weapon signatures appeared throughout the asteroid belt. They weren't coming from the human ships. They were coming from the asteroids themselves. Impossible, he whispered. Then the first orbital cannon fired. A beam of pure energy, brighter than a star and twice as powerful as anything in the Catherian arsenal, erupted from what had appeared to be an ordinary asteroid. It struck the nearest alien ship dead center, punching through its shields like they were made of paper. The massive vessel exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the entire asteroid field. Then another cannon fired, and another. Hidden weapon platforms that had been disguised as asteroids revealed themselves throughout the Nexus belt. Each one carried firepower that dwarfed anything the Catherians had ever seen. The asteroids weren't just rocks. They were the most sophisticated military installation humanity had ever built. It's a trap, General Vex screamed as another Catherian ship exploded. They lured us in, but Admiral Terrace was too stunned to respond. In less than 60 seconds, his easy Victory had become a complete disaster. The humans hadn't been running away. They had been leading the Catherian fleet directly into the most devastating ambush in galactic history. As orbital cannons continued to fire and his proud fleet burned around him, Admiral Terrace finally understood the truth. The humans weren't primitive at all. They were the most dangerous species he had ever encountered, and now it was far too late to escape. The space around the Nexus belt had become a graveyard of burning metal and shattered dreams. Admiral Terrace gripped the command rail of his flagship as another one of his vessels exploded in a brilliant flash of orange and white. The sound of screaming metal and dying crew members echoed through the communication channels. "Status report!" Terrace roared, his 3 eyes blazing with a mixture of rage and disbelief. Commander Zeph, his tactical officer, frantically worked at his console, while sweat dripped down his purple-scaled face. "Admiral, we've lost 12 ships in the first wave. The weapon platforms are using some kind of plasma fusion hybrid technology we've never seen before. Our shields are useless against them." General Vex stumbled across the bridge as another impact shook their flagship. "Sir, we need to retreat immediately. This isn't a battle anymore, it's a slaughter." But Admiral Terrace couldn't accept what was happening. His empire had conquered dozens of worlds, defeated countless species, and built the most powerful fleet in known space. How could a race of primitive humans have outsmarted them so completely? On the human flagship Defiant Spirit, Captain Jenna Cross stood calmly in the center of her bridge, watching the tactical display with the cold efficiency of a chess master executing a perfect game. Her crew worked with quiet precision around her, each person playing their part in humanity's greatest military deception. "Engineering, how are our power levels?" Cross asked into her comm. Engineer Nina Blake's voice crackled back from the engine room. "Captain, we're running at full capacity. The fusion reactors are purring like kittens, and the weapon platforms are drawing power perfectly from the central grid." Lieutenant Cole Rivers looked up from his weapon station, his young face glowing with excitement. "Captain, the orbital cannons have eliminated 15 enemy vessels. The remaining alien ships are trying to reform their battle lines, but they're completely confused." Cross nodded approvingly. "Good. Signal all platforms to begin Phase 3. It's time to show them what human ingenuity really looks like." Throughout the asteroid field, what the Catherians had assumed were simple space rocks began to transform. Massive sections of stone and metal slid away, revealing gleaming weapon platforms that had been hidden for months. But these weren't just cannons. They were mobile fortresses. Each platform extended mechanical arms that grabbed onto nearby asteroids, using them as shields and ammunition. Some platforms began moving through the field on hidden thruster systems, hunting down alien ships like wolves stalking prey. Others revealed laboratories and factories that began producing drones and missiles in real time. The Catherians watched in growing terror as their understanding of the battle completely changed. This wasn't just an ambush, it was a demonstration of technology so advanced it seemed like magic. "How is this possible?" whispered Officer Rex, the youngest member of Admiral Terrace's command crew. "Our intelligence said they were centuries behind us in technology." Commander Zeph pulled up holographic displays showing the human weapon platforms. "Sir, I'm analyzing their energy signatures. These systems are using principles we don't even understand. They've somehow miniaturized fusion reactors to fit inside what we thought were asteroids, and their targeting computers are predicting our movements before we make them." Admiral Terrace stared at the display, his mind reeling. They wanted us to underestimate them. Every piece of intelligence we gathered, every battle report we studied, it was all deliberately misleading. The truth was even more sophisticated than the Admiral realized. For years, humanity had been carefully managing their public image in the galaxy. Every time they encountered a new species, they made sure to appear just advanced enough to be taken seriously, but not so advanced as to be seen as a threat. Their real technology had been hidden on remote installations like the Nexus belt, waiting for the day when a major power would finally challenge them directly. The asteroid field wasn't just a weapon platform. It was humanity's way of announcing their true place in the galactic hierarchy. On the Defiant Spirit, Captain Cross received a priority transmission from one of the orbital platforms. "Captain, this is Platform 7. We have the alien flagship in our sights. Requesting permission to end this." Cross considered for a moment, The battle was already won, but she needed to send a message that would echo throughout the galaxy. Humanity was done hiding. Negative, Platform 7. I want to give them one last chance to understand what they're dealing with. She opened a communication channel to the Catherian flagship. Admiral Terrace's image appeared on her screen, and she could see the defeat and confusion in his 3 eyes. "Admiral," Cross said calmly, "I believe we need to have a more honest conversation." Terrace straightened his posture, trying to maintain some dignity, even as his fleet burned around him. "Captain Cross, I don't understand what's happening here. Our intelligence suggested your people were technologically inferior." Cross smiled slightly. "Admiral, humanity learned long ago that the most dangerous predators in nature are the ones that appear harmless until it's too late. We've been letting other species see exactly what we wanted them to see." She gestured to the tactical display showing the orbital platform systematically dismantling the Catherian fleet. "These weapon systems were built using technology we developed over 50 years ago. What you're seeing isn't even our current military capability. It's what we were willing to reveal today." The implications hit Admiral Terrace like a physical blow. If these devastating weapons were old technology, what did humanity's current military look like? "You've been planning this for years," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Decades," Cross corrected. "Every species that expands into space eventually reaches the same conclusion, that conquest is easier than cooperation. We decided long ago that when that day came, we would be ready." Around them, the last of the Catherian ships were being systematically disabled rather than destroyed. The orbital platforms had switched to non-lethal weapons, targeting engines and weapon systems while leaving life support intact. Engineer Nina Blake's voice came over the comm again. "Captain, we're receiving surrender signals from the remaining alien vessels. It looks like they've had enough." Cross nodded. "Signal all platforms to cease fire. Admiral Terrace, you and your surviving crews will be escorted to the edge of human space. You're free to return to your empire with a message." "What message?" Terrace asked, though he suspected he already knew. "That humanity is no longer hiding. We're not the primitive species you thought we were, and we're not interested in conquest, but we're also not interested in being conquered. Any empire that threatens human space or human colonies will face the same response you've seen today." The Admiral looked around his damaged bridge, at his defeated fleet, at the impossible technology that had outmaneuvered his empire's finest military minds. "And if we choose to return with a larger fleet?" Cross's expression grew cold. "Admiral, what you've seen today was a defensive demonstration using outdated equipment and a single asteroid field. If you return with hostile intent, you'll discover what our current technology can actually do, and you'll discover it across every system in your empire simultaneously." The threat was delivered quietly, almost casually, but it carried the weight of absolute certainty. Admiral Terrace realized that humanity wasn't just more advanced than they'd appeared. They were so far ahead that his entire empire was at their mercy. As the surviving Catherian ships limped away from the Nexus belt under human escort, Admiral Terrace sent a priority message back to his homeworld. The message was simple, but would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Do not engage the humans. Under no circumstances should any Catherian vessel enter human space. They are not what we believed them to be. They are far more dangerous than we ever imagined. On the Defiant Spirit, Captain Cross watched the alien fleet disappear into hyperspace. Lieutenant Rivers approached her station with a question that had been bothering him throughout the battle. "Captain, why did we reveal so much of our capability? Won't other empires now see us as a threat?" Cross turned to look at her young officer with a patient expression. "Cole, humanity has been playing a careful game for generations. We've been the hidden tiger, letting everyone assume we were sheep. But hiding only works for so long. Eventually, someone powerful enough to be a real threat comes looking for easy prey." She gestured toward the tactical display, which now showed the orbital platforms beginning to disguise themselves as asteroids once again. "Today, we sent a message to every empire in the galaxy. We're not prey, and we're not conquerors. We're the species that other species need to learn to respect." Engineer Nina Blake's voice came over the comm one final time. "Captain, all systems are powering down to standby mode. The platforms are resuming camouflage positions. Should I file this as a training exercise in the official logs?" Cross smiled. "Log it as a successful diplomatic contact, Nina. After all, we just established a new relationship with the Catherian Empire." As the defiant spirit prepared to leave the Nexus belt, Cross reflected on the day's events. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades, building hidden installations throughout their territory, developing technology in secret, and carefully managing their reputation among the stars. The Catherians had assumed that because humanity appeared primitive, they actually were primitive. It was a mistake that would reshape galactic politics for generations to come. From now on, when alien empires looked toward human space, they wouldn't see easy targets or primitive technology. They would remember the day when humanity's true capabilities were revealed, and they would think very carefully before making any aggressive moves. The age of humanity hiding in the shadows was over. The age of humanity as a major galactic power had begun, and it had started with a single, perfect ambush that turned the hunters into the hunted and showed the galaxy that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming.